Welcome to Pathway to Peace with Terry McIntosh. I'm Gary Morris. This is a timely message in search of a positive truth that brings healing, peace, and safety to the individual as well as the entire nation.
Hello, Saints. Terry McIntosh here. We're walking out this path quickly, so be advised that you can review our programs on YouTube.com. Simply write in Path to Peace with Terry McIntosh and select any episode you want to review. This is episode 8. You can slow it down on YouTube or speed it up to examine any particular thing I present. And I want you to review, examine, and even challenge everything I bring to you. We're searching for truth, and all of us must be willing to challenge and be challenged. Today's lesson is a hotly debated subject. Well, I suppose everything we've discussed so far is hotly debated. But be that as it may, and considering that most Palestinians, or PALs as I call them, are as much Hebraic as any Jew, the question is posed, who can live there? That is, in the Holy Land, Israel. Christian theology largely, but not all by any stretch of the imagination, but largely supports an all-Jewish modern Israel. The Zionist community believes that God gave the land to Jews. Therefore, Jews have all rights to be there and to reject others who don't qualify under the law of return, which, by the way, directly opposes the Bible standard of eligibility. We discussed that in episode 7. Modern politics mandate the Zionist preference of Jewish domination. Modern Israel recently passed the Jewish nation-state law, which makes Jews superior to other people groups in the land. I am among those who believe the law is contrary to God's plan of reconciliation, and I believe it's harmful going forward. The Jewish state is missing the mark of excellence in this case. Now, don't be alarmed when I refute an Israeli government policy. I'm not poking my finger in the eye of God, as some suppose, when I speak up for righteousness. The Jewish state is the one poking its finger in God's eye, not me or those with me. Let's consult the Bible about this subject and about who has a right to live in the land. That should be our final authority on the subject. That is the Bible. And we should agree with and support God's own criteria over that of a political state. And remember, this is for the purpose of God's great plan of reconciliation. Truth is Israel's path to freedom and liberty, and so it is ours. The Bible documents early worries that future descendants would be denied their inheritance by other tribes of Israel, as is the case in play today. It was a legitimate concern, but the Lord had already prepared for it, as we shall see, and already know. The book of Joshua, chapter 22, reveals the concern. At this time in history, the 12 tribes of Israel were still called Hebrews. The word Jew was not yet in existence. Each tribe had its own inheritance and land assignments. 3 of those tribes, Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, left their brothers in Shiloh and returned to their own land, which they had acquired in accordance with the command of the Lord through Moses. These 3 tribes soon constructed an imposing altar at the border, and the other 9 tribes saw that as an act of rebellion against the whole house of Israel. The 9 other tribes met to discuss waging civil war against them. It was that serious. An envoy was dispatched with a plea to destroy the altar and not sin against God. The 9 tribes feared God's wrath against all of them if this rebellion was allowed to stand. The 3 tribes, Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, replied to the heads of the clans of Israel and denied any act of rebellion against God or their brothers. Joshua chapter 22, verses 24 through 28 says, "No, we did it for fear that someday your descendants might say to ours, 'What do you have to do with the Lord, the God of Israel? The Lord has made the Jordan a boundary between us and you Reubenites and Gadites. You have no share in the Lord.' So your descendants might cause ours to stop fearing the Lord. That is why we said, 'Let us get ready and build an altar,' but not for burnt offerings or sacrifices. On the contrary, it is to be a witness between us and you and the generations that follow, that we will worship the Lord at His sanctuary with our burnt offerings, sacrifices, and fellowship offerings. Then in the future, your descendants will not be able to say to ours, you have no share in the Lord. And we said, if they ever say this to us or to our descendants, we will answer, look at the replica of the Lord's altar, which our ancestors built, not for burnt offerings and sacrifices, but as a witness between us and you. Now when Phinehas, the priest and the leaders of the community, heard what Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh had to say, they were pleased. All the Hebrew Israelites were glad to hear the report and praised God for it. And they talked no more about going to war against them. The Reubenites and the Gadites gave the altar a name, a witness between us that the Lord is God. The tribes knew that time and diversity would become a problem, and they had taken what action they could to establish their rights on behalf of their children and their descendants. They wanted to prevent descendants of other tribes from laying legal claim to their God-given inheritance. The gigantic altar was intended to preserve and protect those rights. As it had to be, that altar was later destroyed during seasons of war and various captivities. No marker was to be found afterwards, nor today, to prevent other tribes from claiming the land. But, and a big but, there was God. He had already placed a marker in man that no man, no agency, no war, no captivity, nor any false claim could deny. It is called DNA. The human altar lies in the molecule which contains the biological instructions that make each species unique and traces family lineage. It is a multi-purpose scientific discovery and is used to identify family members and other usages. The God of the Bible made provision to protect those God-given boundaries to the 12 tribes of the man named Israel long before man had built any altars or given thought to moving boundary stones. We have established these facts previously. Most Palestinians are Hebrews descended from Joseph. Follow us on YouTube to catch up if you need to. It's important to be fully informed. Now, not every Palestinian is a natural descendant of the house of Israel. Cousins from the lineage of Ishmael have taken up residence and are also now called Palestinians. They are mixed as one people, religiously and culturally. It complicates the issue for many people who can't distinguish between the two. Additionally, advocates for an all-Jewish conquest of land have overlooked important facts. Not every Israeli citizen is descended from Jews, yet they are Israelis. The argument that Palestinian Arab descendants of Ishmael do not share in any part of Israel is refuted by the Bible. The argument against them is rooted in prejudice and a deep-seated fear and hatred of Islam. None of that matters according to the holy books. What am I saying? Oh, let's find out. The prophet Ezekiel made it very clear and left no doubt about who is considered to be a descendant and who may share in the blessings promised to Abraham. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 47. It addresses this hotly debated subject thousands of years before its need, and it is needed today. Now, you know Ezekiel, he was a major prophet. He lived among the Jewish exiles in Babylon. References Ezekiel chapter 3. The Lord spoke to the captive prophet about a time of future restoration, which, by the way, we're still looking for, and gave instructions regarding boundaries of land. He further decreed a gracious inclusiveness that went far beyond an all-Jewish or Israeli definition of who is eligible to share in the Abrahamic blessings. Ezekiel 47:21 through verse 23 says, "You are to distribute this land among yourselves according to the tribes of Israel. You are to allot it as an inheritance for yourselves and for the foreigners residing among you and who have children. You are to consider them as native-born Israelites along with you. They are to be allotted an inheritance among the tribes of Israel. In whatever tribe a foreigner resides, there you are to give them their inheritance, declares the sovereign Lord." In other words, every resident of today's Palestine not descended from the tribe of Joseph, the house of Israel, is to be included, accepted, and enjoy property rights along with the actual descendants of Israel. Geez, this defies the Jewish law of return big time. The House of Israel, Hebraic Palestinians, simply do not know what their ancestral identity and true heritage is. The Palestinian Christian connection is very strong, but many of today's Muslim population are also descended, howbeit having changed the practice of religion from Christianity to Islam. Many of them are aware of their ancestral connection to Christianity. I know some of them personally. Regardless of religious preference, those Arabic Palestinians not directly related to Israel or descended from the tribe of Joseph Ephraim are to be included in the blessings and promised inheritance. That is according to the Word of God. The Hebrew Holy Book in the Old Testament, Hosea chapter 7, verses 8 and 9, laments, Ephraim mixes with the nations. Ephraim is a flat cake not turned over. Foreigners sap his strength, but he does not realize it. We have established that the Jewish prophet is talking about the Bible house of Israel, the descendants of Ephraim, the son of Joseph, the son of Israel, now known as Palestinians. The house of Israel went into captivity at the hand of Assyria and was dispersed around the world. He further mixed with the nations. However, a remnant remained in the land according to the holy books. As a result, Ephraim's identity as Israel was lost, swallowed up by various captivities, religions, and Arabic culture, and his name has since been appropriated by another, his brother Judah. But his seed is still in the land. It has always been so and remains true today. Israel has recognized a select group of the present-day Palestinian Samaritans and extended dual citizenship to them. This is an overt admission that Israel is aware of their true identity. Other resident PALs who do not practice Judaism are denied citizenship in Israel for two reasons. Number one, the Jewish desire to remain Jewish. And number two, the practice of Islam by the majority of Palestinians. The Jewish law of return was drafted to shrewdly deny Palestinian brothers the right of access to citizenship, but God has made it clear who has a right to live there and own property. When we support Jewish state theft of land from its Palestinian brothers, are we pleasing God? Or do we risk being rebuked by God? Let's get on His side and promote reconciliation of the two. Time's up, gotta go. Email me at info@usajourney.us. info@usajourney.us or text 270-217-0132. I hope to see you next week when we take another step on the path to peace and reconciliation. And hey, we want to say thanks for your letters and your emails. We love to hear from you. For those of you who want a study guide to go along with these lessons, I encourage you to purchase a copy of our book, I Shall for the Sake of My Holy Name. You can do that on Amazon.com by entering the name of the book. And also my name is the author, Terry McIntosh, and it'll pull up for you. Then you'll have a study guide there that you can hold in one hand with a Bible in the other one, and get the full picture of what we're presenting through these programs presently. And of course, there's a couple of bucks from that would come to our ministry as well. So we appreciate that as well. God bless you. McIntosh out.
You can write us at Post Office Box 766, Paducah, Kentucky 42002, USA. That's Post Office Box 766, Paducah. That's spelled Paducah, Paducah, Kentucky 42002, USA.